ready? Now that
They know the drill.
Okay. Now that Special Counsel Mueller has submitted his report to the Attorney General, it's imperative for Mr. Barr to make the full report and provide its underlying documentation and findings to Congress. Sorry, I didn't say that right. I left out a word.
And you should move the mic a little closer to you.
Okay. Is this better? Okay. Now that Special Counsel Mueller has submitted his report to the Attorney General, it's imperative for Mr. Barr to make the full report public and provide its underlying documentation and findings to Congress. Attorney General Barr must not give President Trump, his lawyers, or his staff any sneak preview of Special Counsel Mueller's findings or evidence, and the White House must not be allowed to interfere in decisions about what parts of those findings or evidence should be made public. The Special Counsel's investigation focused on questions that go to the integrity of our democracy itself, whether foreign powers corruptly interfere in our elections, and whether unlawful means were used to hinder the investigation. The American people have a right to the truth. The watchword is transparency. In conclusion, the President himself has called without qualification for the report to be made public. There is no reason on God's green earth why Attorney General Barr should do any less. We're only going to take one question or two. Any?
The indications are that there are no new indictments. That's the word coming out. Do you think that that is the case, that there's an apology to be made to the President?
I think we should wait for the full report to be issued before jumping to any conclusions. I should say that again. I think we should wait for the full report to be made public before jumping to any conclusions.
Senator Schumer, how confident are you that we're going to get the full depth of that report with a Trump-appointed Attorney General?
I think the demand of the public is overwhelming to see the report when it's on such a serious matter, and it will be made public. Public pressure will force it to be.
Any sort of time frame you can foresee?
No. Thank you, everybody. Last question to the Yankee fan.
Will you and the rest of the House and the Senate accept what it says, if it's good or bad for you or not?
Look, I'm not going to draw any conclusions until we see not only the whole report, but the underlying findings and documentation. Thank you, everybody.
Where are you from? You just came in.
New York 1.
Oh, got it. So I think 7 can share with you. There's no reduction.
So it's a great honor to bring in Texas Congressman, former Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Morning. Great to be with y'all.
Good to have you here. You talk a lot about snowflakes out there and the importance of the U.S. military bringing freedom around the world. There's a retired U.S. Army General, Sean McFarland, who says there's basically a crisis within the military that worries him, not just about the military, but about the future of America. Listen to this.
I just heard a statistic recently that about 80% of American kids consider themselves as just plain old Americans before they enter high school, and about 2/3 of them, about halfway through college, become hyphenated Americans. We remove those hyphens in the Army, in the military. You know, you're a soldier. Next question. You know, we all wear the same patch on our right shoulder, the American flag. Is it getting harder in the U.S. military to assimilate everybody and get everybody on the same playing for the same team? Yeah, it is. Identity politics is a cancer.
How do you react to that?
Well, I would agree with it. You know, luckily in the SEAL teams, for instance, I don't think I saw that as much. I think there's a very close-knit community there, no matter what your ethnicity or background. But it's certainly a problem in America at large. I mean, you know, and what is identity politics? It's this temptation to divide us up into different groups, whether that be based on race or gender or some other category, and then pit those groups against each other and compete for power accordingly. The way America should be is that the only colors that matter are red, white, and blue, and that we compete according to our competency, that we compete according to a meritocracy, which is really a fundamental element of the military. And if you take that away from the military, then the general is absolutely right. The military will eventually fail, and our country at large will fail. He's absolutely right about identity politics.
Well, Congressman, how did we get to this point?
How do we get to this point? Geez, it's sort of this postmodern mentality, right? Where on college campuses now, especially, there's this real temptation to tear down everything that our country was built on, to tear down these Enlightenment ideals of equality. They have different ideas of what equality means, right? They think equality means egalitarianism. They think it means everybody should have the exact same thing, and that there's injustices all around them. But the reality is that we're supposed to be able to compete in a free society as free individuals, and part of that competition is a meritocracy, and that's what our country was founded on. And I think people are forgetting that.
Representative Crenshaw, you have been fighting for a fellow Navy SEAL, Eddie Gallagher. A letter was written. It states Chief Gallagher is a decorated war fighter who, like all service members, is entitled to the presumption of innocence while awaiting court-martial. We respectfully request that you review the Navy policies governing pretrial confinement for Chief Gallagher. What is this fight about for you? Why is it so passionate for you?
Well, it's about the understanding that in this country, people are innocent until proven guilty, and they should be treated as such. So the issues surrounding the Gallagher case are that, for one thing, the way he was arrested was really problematic. He was arrested while he was undergoing medical treatment, but they also raided his home, where they knew he was not present at. They raided his home. They took his kids outside. It was really unnecessary. Then they put him in solitary confinement. He hasn't had full access to the food he wants, the medical treatment he wants, full access to his legal counsel or his family, and he's being put in solitary confinement along with guilty criminals. This just doesn't seem like the proper way to treat somebody who's served our country for so long. We're not adjudicating whether he's innocent or guilty. Okay, we don't know. But what we do know is that in this country we are innocent until proven guilty. You know, let's let him have his day in court. Let's have an expedited process. Right now he's been in solitary confinement for almost 7 months. Wow. That's just not the way we treat people.
He's being held in the brig in Miramar in California. Tell us about the government case against him. What is it alleged that he did?
Well, they're alleging that during a deployment in Iraq, that he murdered an ISIS fighter who was in their custody. Now, there's various disputes between various witnesses who were there. Again, I don't know. That's not what we're adjudicating here. That we will leave that up to the jury to decide that. But again, what we do know is that his treatment from the time he was accused up until the actual court-martial should be a lot better than it is right now.
Yeah. What do you think about an enemy combatant? This was an enemy combatant, right? The ISIS fighter.
Yeah, it was. It was an enemy combatant. Essentially, there was close air support. The enemy combatant was terribly wounded, so they took the enemy combatant in and gave him medical attention. And and that is the point where some people are accusing him of killing the enemy.
Well, the
combatant.
Navy told FoxNews.com they have not yet reviewed your letter from you and your colleagues. Obviously, we expect them to do that in the days ahead. Congressman, we appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Let's go back to those redacted Michael Cohen search warrant documents now, which we're told show the federal inquiry into President Trump's former personal attorney began in July of 2017. That is much earlier than had been previously reported, and it comes amid new signs that the Mueller investigation may be coming to an end. The last prosecutor to have worked on the Michael Flynn case reportedly is now leaving the special counsel's office. Joining me now, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. Great to see you today. So give me the signs that you think that things are wrapping up.
Well, I mean, the reason Ms. Hamid might have left could be the fact that the Mueller report is coming soon. We all kind of suspect that it is. But it also might be a letter that Mr. Meadows and I sent to Attorney General Barr just 19 days ago. On March 1st, we sent a letter pointing out that Andrew Wiseman, who's also leaving the special counsel, and Ms. Hamid met with Bruce Orr prior to the 2016 election. And Mr. Orr conveyed to them that Christopher Steele, the author of the dossier, had talked to him, and he was conveying that information to both of these individuals who went on Bob Mueller's team, that Mr. Steele was desperate to stop Trump. So we pointed that out to Mr. Barr. Maybe that has something to do with them leaving as well. I don't know. We'll just have to we'll have to wait and see.
So I'm looking at that because my team has acquired a copy of that letter. And what specifically do you think the American people need to know right now about this investigation?
Well, remember when we conveyed in that letter, we told Mr. Barr, these two individuals on Mueller's team prior to the election knew that Christopher Steele had a bias against the president. Desperate to stop Trump was the terms Mr. Orr told us in the deposition. He conveyed that to these key people at the Justice Department, not only before the election, Harris, but before they went to the FISA court the first time to get the warrant to go spy on the Trump campaign. So clear back in October of 2016, they knew that information, and they didn't give that information to the court when they went to get the warrant. That is problematic. We think that's a potential conflict. Maybe that has something to do with both of these individuals leaving the Mueller team. Maybe it's as simple as the report's coming and they're looking for another job. I don't know. But understand, too, Mr. Wiseman's leaving the Justice Department altogether. That was announced last week. So maybe it has something to do with the fact that they knew this critical information and didn't convey it to the FISA court clear back before the 2016 election.
I wonder how much the American people are sensitive to the terms FISA court, because it really does come down to whether or not one side politically is able to game the situation with that secretive court, and how much we can ever look at that situation or the evidence there that the court has seen. That's important, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican.
Yeah, it sure is. And I tell you what I think most Americans are sensitive to. They're sensitive to the double standard. I mean, we talk about Michael Cohen. I mean, look, we learned from this information. Michael Cohen lied to banks. He lied to the IRS. They were surveilling him and getting information from him much earlier than we thought.
He's a criminal liar.
Right, and we know that he lied to Congress and then came in front of Congress and lied again. But what it underscores to me is, think of the difference between how he was treated and Michael Flynn was treated and Roger Stone was treated compared to Secretary Clinton. She had 60-some thousand documents on her personal server, but she and her lawyers, Cheryl Mills, Heather Samuelson, David Kendall, they got to decide on the front end which ones we on the Benghazi Committee and the government got to see and which ones were personal in nature. Completely different standards, completely different treatment. And as I talk to constituents, particularly in the 4th District of Ohio, they are troubled by this double standard that exists and certainly, I think, is obvious in how these individuals were handled.
Again, it is a topic for both sides of the political aisle because it really has to do with what the public cannot see and what is fair. Representative Jim Jordan, ranking member, thank you very much for being on the program.